Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome back to another Game Theory reaction. And this is the Mace just broke Minecraft, literally. Yeah, so in the, the last major update, they added like a couple of things. One of them being this mace, where the damage it deals is proportional to the amount that you've fallen. So basically, it's the whole thing where you jump down and you're just basically like, ah! So as to thinking about it, you're basically using just gravity and a heavy rock. And if I remember correctly, I think one of its early iterations might have been able to kill the Ender Dragon in one shot, and also the Warden. I think they nerfed it before the official release. But yeah, I think if I remember correctly, I think you can only get the components from, I think from like trial chambers or something like that. Because I know like the breeze rod, you get from like the breeze, which is a mob only from the trial chambers. I forget where you get the head from though. So yeah, and then there was also the thing that if I remember correctly, I think if you actually do hit your target with the mace, you don't take fall damage, or your fall damage is massively reduced. Again, it's been a while since I've looked it up, and I've never actually used it myself. But yeah, so none of that actually applies if you don't actually hit the target in the first place. So, you know, it's a very much, you know, a weapon with major drawbacks, but major advantages if you can use it correctly. I'm going to guess that, you know, the mace just broke Minecraft literally has something to do with the fact that, like, trying to calculate the damage as you're falling or something like that. Like, maybe the mace is, like, super dense to the point that it's, like, I don't know, like a neutron star or would be a black hole. I don't know. Though knowing game theory, I could totally see them talking about something like that. Who knows? So yeah, of course, as always, original videos linked in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason. Corner video linked to my film theory reaction. And yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
Minecraft's new weapon is completely broken. Not only can the mace literally one-shot any mob in the game, but it can also negate any and all fall damage. For most players,
again, only if you hit the target.
This sounds like the perfect weapon. But for me, it sounds a little too good to be true. And you know what that means? It's time for us to bust out those calculators and crunch the numbers to find out. Is the mace truly OP levels of broken, or will the only thing that's broken by the end of this be Steve?
I mean, the whole thing with the mace, and like, as I said before, it's like, its massive damage capability and the fact that it negates fall damage only comes into effect if you actually hit the target. So, I mean, you have to be above them in the first place. So, I mean, I could very much see, and if I remember correctly, I think it does like around the same damage as just a normal sword if you're just using it like a normal weapon without like dropping first. And on top of that, you can't put any sword enchantments on it. It has its own set of enchantments you can put on it. So I mean, I could very much see it as being not like a holdout weapon, but like a backup weapon for very specific circumstances. So like, because I mean, depending on the mob or whoever you're fighting, I mean, if you're playing against another player, unless they're distracted by somebody else who's on your side, I mean, I think they're going to notice you like the nerd pulling up to jump down and hit them with the mace. So, yeah.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that's always got an ace up its sleeve. Or should I say, mace. Because in a recent update, Mojang released what might be the single most powerful, most unique, and all-around coolest weapon ever, the mace. At first glance, it doesn't seem too impressive. It only does the same amount of damage as an iron sword. But the mace's true power lies in the new feature known as the smash attack. Wonder where Steve got that name from.
I'd love that if the mace was only created because Steve got into Smash. That'd be wonderful. Stupid, but wonderful.
Jumping from a large height and hitting an enemy as you fall, you can do massive amounts of damage. And the further you fall, the more damage your smash attack does. Plus, according to Mojang, there is no cap on the damage you can do. But what's more...
Wait, really? I thought they did add a cap, because again, I remember before there was a whole thing where it could kill a warden in one shot if you fell from high enough. But then it was but then there was like a nerf, and you couldn't one-shot a warden anymore. At least I remember. It's been a while since I looked at those Minecraft shorts. Maybe I'm misremembering things.
More impressive than that is that if you do hit your target, all of the fall damage you would have received is completely negated.
Oh, so it is all the fall damage. Okay.
Fall damage. This is what makes the mace the ultimate high-risk, high-reward weapon.
Yeah,
but
there you
how
go.
is a simple mace able to do all of that? Well, it's not really clear. There's no explanation in the game, as usual, and Mojang has been weirdly cagey about it.
But what stops you taking fall damage yourself?
Glad you asked. I don't know.
Ugh, indeed. I guess
I don't know.
that means yet again, it's our job here at Game Theory to answer the question the developers can't. Could you actually do all of that damage and still survive the fall? Would a skilled player wielding this mace be a one-man god-slaying machine, or will that unsuspecting mob be the last thing that Steve sees before his demise?
I mean, it could literally be that, you know, the thing is magic. I mean, was the head made out of the heavy block or something like that? What was it called? From Ominous Vault and Trial Chambers. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, this heavy core, the breeze rod, I mean, the thing could literally be just, you know, magic, and it requires, like, a sacrifice from a slain enemy to nullify your fall damage. I mean, who knows? That, and also, I'm on the wiki here, and I just noticed, like, really, Bedrock Edition? You had to be that guy?
There's only one way to find out. Get your breeze rods ready, loyal theorists, because we are using science to jump off of the mountain that is Minecraft's Mace. Let's just hope it's more of a superhero landing and less of a faceplant. Obviously, the main thing that makes the mace so unbelievably powerful is the fact it can negate all fall damage if used correctly. But if we want to figure out just how or if that's all possible, we need to understand how the mace gets its power in the first place.
Okay, wait, I just noticed, I'm pausing a lot in the beginning of this video, I'm sorry about that, but I just noticed that, you know, when you hit, you get, like, you know, the shock wave and the particles from the ground when you hit. I'm almost wondering, could it literally be that it's the shock wave either bouncing off the ground or coming from the ground and going upwards in the air is strong enough to basically slow you down to the point where you're not falling at terminal velocity?
If you've ever dropped something like your phone from a high place, you may be intimately aware of the potential damage that can be done.
I've never actually I'm actually really lucky. I've never dropped my phone like that before. Granted, I mean, like, you know, I have it, you know, in a case, but at the same time, I mean, like, the thing is, like, most of the time that I've dropped my phone, it's been over a carpeted floor. Like, I mean, that's just good karma, I guess.
That's because if you're holding something high above the ground, while it may not be moving, it still contains a specific type of energy. Potential energy that is just waiting.
I was going to say kinetic energy, but that's not right.
I mean, it will eventually,
that
potential
but, you know.
energy is released as it starts falling towards Earth, converting into kinetic energy, or energy of movement. By the time that object hits the ground, all of that potential energy has been completely converted into kinetic energy, which leaves you with a cracked screen or a bump on your noggin if you get in the way. The higher off the ground an object is when you release it, the more potential energy it has, and therefore the more kinetic energy it has when it hits the ground. So on that front, it does seem like Mojang were paying attention in high school physics. The higher Steve's height is when he jumps, the more energy and destructive power the mace is going to have. But how much power is it exactly? According to the Minecraft wiki, the mace's base damage is 6, and the damage ramps up the higher you fall from. You can one-shot a player wearing full protection 4 netherite armor from 30 blocks high, and if you jump from around 314 blocks high, you can deal enough damage to one-hit KO the game's strongest mob, the Warden.
But okay, never mind, that's still a thing you can do.
Damage. I want to know how much damage the mace would actually do, and for that we're going to need to turn to an old favorite, FMA. Not the famous anime, although that is one of my personal favorites. I'm talking about our favorite equation, force equals mass times acceleration. Let's start with figuring out the acceleration, as that's actually pretty easy to calculate.
Yeah, they've calculated Minecraft's gravity many times.
Be it a bowling ball, a feather, or a human has the same acceleration due to gravity of 9.8 meters per second squared. Unfortunately, that's not how it works in Minecraft. In the game, not every object experiences the same acceleration due to gravity. Instead, different entities experience different accelerations. For players and mobs specifically, they experience an acceleration of 0.08 blocks per tick squared. Fortunately, what we do know is that 1 block equals 1 meter and 20 ticks equals 1 second. So after doing some quick conversions, Steve's acceleration due to gravity winds up being 32 meters per second squared, which is over 3 times the acceleration we feel here on Earth. He is taking falling like a rock to a whole new level. But regardless, we have our acceleration. Now we just need to figure out his mass, which is a little more complicated. Steve doesn't actually have a cannon weight or mass. However, he does have a cannon height. And thanks to Steve's blocky shape, it means that we can actually figure out his mass by first figuring out his volume.
Which, I mean, alternatively, if you wanted to go the easier route, you could also just fit Jack Black into the equation, like his weight, because, you know, he's going to be playing Steve in the movie, which, geez, that trailer. Yeah, I'm just on the subject of the movie, because for a while there I was flip-flopping on whether I was going to do a reaction to the trailer before I watched it just privately. I'm going to say I'm going to hold my reservations until other people see it first. It looks weird, but I don't know whether that's just the movie itself going to be weird, or if that's just, you know, a poorly made commercial.
And to do that, we need to use my second favorite formula, density equals mass over volume. If only I had some kind of relaxing lo-fi to help me concentrate while I do all these equations. Oh wait, I do! Lo-fi. If you thought Minecraft's music was chill, just wait till you listen to this.
Yeah, I keep forgetting I need to do a reaction to the lo-fi, because there's a lo-fi lore video.
Mindful. I guess, but Matt, Dan, and the team have worked so hard to make this an awesome listening experience for you guys. They've also managed to sneak in a fun murder mystery with deep lore, because of course they have. If you head on over to the YouTube channel, you can follow our hero Taylor as she accidentally finds herself trapped in the middle of this whole mystery. We actually just dropped episode 2, and let me tell you, it is full of juicy lore for you guys.
I'm so far behind
so
already.
Definitely want to go and check that out. Some theorists have already found a fair bit, but trust me, there is a lot more to find. Plus, we're releasing new tracks every Monday over on Spotify, and in true theorist fashion, there are even secrets hiding inside the music too. So if you want to be the first to solve the new lore when it drops, or if you just want to listen to some of the chillest beats on the internet, grab your Mace and smash the link in the description. Speaking of Mace, now that we've got the soundtrack to our complex math sorted, let's get back to figuring out the Mace's damage using Steve's volume. First, we need his cannon height. According to Mojang and their parent company Microsoft, Steve is canonically 6 foot 2 inches or 1.875 meters tall. And if you take a look at Steve's model real closely, you will notice that he's made up of pixels. Specifically, Steve is 32 pixels tall. So 32 pixels equals 1.875 meters, making the side of each pixel 5.86 centimeters or 2.31 inches. From here, we can calculate the volume of each pixel simply by multiplying the pixel's length by its width and by its height. And given they're all the same, that equates to each pixel having a volume of 201.23 cubic centimeters. All I need to do now is figure out how many of these pixel cubes Steve is made out of to get his total volume. So, after a lot of counting, I can tell you that Steve is made out of 1,664 cubed pixels, which gives him a total volume of 334,846.72 cubic centimeters.
I mean, yeah, you could have done that way, but I mean, you knew that you can see, oh, he's made out of pixels. So, I mean, just do the math on each arm, multiply that by 2 for the leg, multiply that by 2, plus, you know, the torso and his head. I mean, you don't have to multiply by the number of pixels he's made out of.
All that's left to do now is to find his density. Humans typically have a density of around 0.985 grams per cubic centimeter. So we can just plug that and our volume into the formula and wham bam bibbidi bow, we've got ourselves our mass, which comes out to a grand total of 329.8 kilograms, or just over 727 pounds.
Wow, okay.
Damn, boy!
Jeez, okay. I mean, I remember, back in the day when, people were trying to figure out how much mass Steve could carry in Minecraft using, like, blocks of ice or, like, stacks of gold blocks or, all that sort of stuff. The fact that he weighs almost 1,000 pounds, and I would, I'd be amiss to not, think that, a fair chunk of that is muscle, given that in Minecraft you're doing running, jumping, climbing, mining, hauling, all that sort of, big, heavy stuff. All that stupid amounts of weight that he can carry, I can very much believe that it's actually possible now.
For reference, the average male in the US is around 90 kilograms or 200 pounds, which is less than a third of what Steve weighs. I guess much like Minecraft's cakes, Steve is just one thick, blocky boy. Respectfully, of course. But finally, we can go back to our original FMA formula. We have our A and now we have our M. So we plug those in, and with that, I can reveal that the force of a falling Steve is... Drum roll, please. Oh, is Yossi still out? Kind of expecting him to fill this in. Editor, do you mind doing it? Thank you. The answer is a whopping 10,553.6 newtons. According to research done by Japanese scientists, it takes just 5,400 newtons to not just crack, but straight up smash a human skull, a la the mountain from Game of Thrones. Steve is delivering almost twice that amount of force. Whatever mob or griefer Steve decides to target, it is going to be completely obliterated. But...
well, I mean, like, that, I was going to say, it's like, geez, that kind of puts in perspective how hardy the monsters and stuff in, like, the Minecraft world are, that you punch and you fight and stuff like that. But again, yeah, this is falling.
And if you think Steve is just going to be walking away from this experience, think again. With a successful smash attack, Steve immediately stops his fall, and while in the game that seems to mitigate fall damage, that's not how physics works.
Yeah, of course.
It's not the fall that kills you, it's the sudden stop. Once you hit the ground after a fall, while you might feel like you stop almost instantly, your organs, not so much. They continue to stay in motion after the initial impact. For a slow enough fall, it's no big deal. But if you slow down too abruptly, all of your squishy bits inside of you want to keep moving, leading to tears, bruises, and in extreme cases, permanent damage or even death. So it's less about how he's stopping and more about the fact he's stopping at all. Even if he hits an enemy, Steve is still slowing down extremely quickly, and that acceleration, or more accurately, deceleration, is what's going to cause him a problem.
I mean, again, just to play devil's advocate here, it could potentially also be that, again, Shockwave I was talking about earlier, but also just, the absolute mountain of muscle that Steve is. He just clenches really hard, and that's enough to, stop his organs in their tracks. He just looks to them, inwardly really hard. It's like, stop moving. Maybe actually that's how you fly around in creative mode. He just thinks really hard, and his organs pull him around, and that's how he can fly. Jeez, that's an odd image to think of. I'm sorry.
When we talked about acceleration earlier, we were talking about the acceleration that all objects experience from being in Earth's gravity. But on a more mathematical level, acceleration is about how much of an object's speed or velocity changes over time. If I drop a bowling ball from a height, it'll experience acceleration equal to 9.8 meters per second per second. So that means that after 1 second, the ball has gone from 0 to 9.8 meters per second. After another second, the ball will go from 9.8 to 19.6 meters per second, and so on and so forth. Acceleration is just the change in velocity divided by the change in time.
But then that flattens out once you start hitting, the max amount of, air resistance.
That's why units of acceleration are given in meters per second. And you can find out how fast an object accelerates, or in our case decelerates, by simply knowing the change in velocity and the time it took to make that change. So to test this, I fired up
to
Minecraft
0
for
in
myself
0 seconds.
And had Steve perform some smash attacks from a height of 30 blocks, or 30 meters, the height it takes to kill a fully decked out netherite player. After running my test several times, I found that Steve's velocity when he landed his attack was around 32.13 meters per second. I also noted that on average, it took Steve just 5/6 of a second to go from top speed to 0. So using our new formula for acceleration, I was able to calculate that Steve's acceleration was 38.55 meters per second. We can now put that new acceleration back into our FMA formula, along with Steve's previously calculated thick boy mass. And from there, we can see that the force Steve feels from being decelerated that quickly is, second drum Drum roll, please. Look, I know I've already asked for one. I know Yossi's out and he normally deals with this. Come on, just do it for me, come on. The answer is 12,714 newtons. The human spine can only manage around 3,000 newtons before it shatters, and the femur, one of the strongest bones in the human body, can break at just 4,000. So yeah, Steve's not looking so hot after this. And it's only gonna get worse the higher he goes. If Steve falls from a height of 314 meters, enough to one-shot the warden, then the force that will be tingling through his body is an absolutely inconceivable 28,304 newtons.
Now that's a lot of damage!
Okay, so from those heights, Steve's gonna be flatter than a British pancake, but that does beg the question, what height could?
Are British pancakes especially flat? What? Oh, they're like crepes or blini. Oh, okay. Huh, interesting. Oh god, now I'm hungry.
He fall from and survive? That turned out to be a much harder question to answer than I originally thought. You see, humans, we're weird sometimes. Some people can die from a fall as little as a few feet, while others have been known to fall from literal aeroplanes and live to tell the tale. Obviously, the range of a few feet to a few miles is a bit too big of a range to be very helpful to us.
Very much so,
However,
yes.
there has been rigorous scientific research into the average height of a fatal fall.
Well, I mean, if you go by that one, oh, I forget what it was called. They did a study trying to figure out how many, like, a battleship shells, like, certain ships could take, and they figured out that one hit point is being able to survive a single 14-inch battleship shell. So, I mean, given that, you know, I think Steve has, what is it, like 20 hit points?
Every living creature is 1 hit point.
So, I mean, if he can tank 20 14-inch battleship shells to the face, I mean, I think, you know, falling from a great height is not that too tall of an order. Which, I mean, again, kind of asks the question of how much damage are those swords making?
One study from the World Journal of Emergency Medicine analyzed over 460 patients who were admitted to hospital for a fall in order to figure out the odds of surviving as the height of the fall increases. They discovered that at around 12 meters or 40 feet, patients had a 50-50 chance of surviving. For an average person, falling from a height of 12 meters will mean traveling at 15.34 meters per second when they make contact with the ground. Using FMA once again, we can calculate the force that a normal person experiences when landing that 50% fall, and it ends up being just 4,755 newtons. But remember, Steve is quite a bit heavier than your average person, and the gravity in Minecraft
very
world
much so.
is way stronger. From 30 blocks, he was experiencing over 12,000 newtons of force. For him to hit that 50-50 chance of survival at just 4,755 newtons, he would only be able to jump from a height of 7 blocks, roughly the height of a 2-story house. High enough to be scary, sure, but not exactly high enough to feel like death is a fair outcome. Plus, at that height, his smash attack wouldn't even be doing enough to kill an Enderman. That amount of force is enough to kill someone 50% of the time. So if Steve wants to improve his odds, he's gonna have to go even lower than that, making the mace less and less effective. Especially when you consider that by the time you're even able to get the mace, you have plenty of other effective and safer tools at your disposal. You have
but who wants to be safe and effective? The mace is just cool.
enchanted diamond swords, plenty of armor, or you can just do it the old-fashioned way and drop an anvil on them from the same height. But when you can't even kill an Enderman without risking your life to a coin flip, this high-risk, high-reward weapon is more like high-risk, no reward. But you know what? If Steve is gonna lose it all as soon as he uses this weapon, he might as well go out with a bang. Maybe someone, oh I don't know, stole his diamonds and now he wants revenge no matter the cost. If Steve did decide, screw it, forget surviving, just how much damage could I do with this thing? What would that be? At first it seems kind of impossible considering there is a limit to how fast Steve can fall. Steve's top falling speed or terminal velocity is 78.4 meters per second. He cannot fall faster than that, and that would actually cap him out at about 31,000 newtons.
I mean, that's a lot, but also, I mean, I have a feeling you're gonna have to switch from, you know, real life logic to game logic. What does the codes?
Pretty darn strong, but it's only a few thousand more newtons from what we calculated for his warden killing jump. And I think we can go bigger. The game does say there's no limit to the amount of damage he can do after all. So let's kick terminal velocity to the curb and keep climbing. And you know what? We might as well get rid of the height limits while we're at it. So with no more limits and a few more calculations,
no height limits and also a giant hole. Don't forget the giant hole. Every little bit counts.
Discovered that if Steve was willing to climb a mere 6,000 blocks, about 2/3 the height of Mount Everest, after he jumped, he'd be hitting the ground with the same amount of energy as the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. That is going to destroy literally everything within a 600 by 600 block radius. Enough to destroy pretty much any mega build that Diamond Thief could make.
Now, all I want to see is somebody make a mod where where that literally happens. Where if you cause too much damage with the mace, it starts making explosions. Oh, that'd be beautiful.
That'll certainly send a message. But you know what? Even that didn't feel like it was enough. I wanted to keep going. I wanted to take this to its absolute limit so that Steve never had to look at anything that thief ever touched ever again. What would it take to destroy the entire planet? According to research, the energy required to destroy the Earth is a mind-boggling 2.25 times 10 to the power 32 joules. Now, we've done enough math in this episode, so I won't bore you with all the conversions, but what I will tell you is that for Steve to destroy the entire planet, he would need to jump from a height of, third and final drum roll, please. Yes, I know I've done it 3 times. Yes, I know I'm overdoing it a little bit. Please, just one more. I'm not gonna do it again, please. Thank you. The answer is a small 2.253 trillion light years. That's 22.
Trillion light years?
5 million times the length of our Milky Way galaxy, 163 times the length of the observable universe. That would take a long time, but oh, would it be so worth it just to see the look on his face when I come crashing down and destroy everything he holds dear.
Oh, God. You don't know how long it's been since I've watched like a game theory video or something of the like, where they just they put out they pull out the stupid numbers, they pull out the really, really stupid numbers, and oh, have I missed it. I mean, at that point, you're not even falling towards the planet. You're just like, you're like a meteorite or something like that. Oh, God. Oh.
That's what you get for stealing my diamonds. I may have some pent-up aggression I need to work through. Can we bring the law fight back?
No!
So calming. But there you have it, theorists. The mace really is the most broken weapon we've ever seen in Minecraft. Just not in the way Mojang intended. At the right height, you can literally destroy anything or anyone you can imagine. But it comes at a cost. Due to the force he's experiencing when stopping, even from a very small height, that epic superhero landing might just be the last thing poor old Steve ever does.
I mean, as long as you have keep inventory on, I mean, I think you're fine.
At least until he respawns. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory! Thanks for watching.
Again, I mean, like, as soon as I started calculating how much it would take to destroy the Earth, I knew that as soon as he started trying to figure out how much it would take to destroy the Earth, I knew the numbers were going to start getting stupid. But the fact that it would take trillions of light years, I was not prepared for that. I honestly was not prepared for that. Oh, God, I love it. I love Game Theory so much. This is the kind of stuff I tune in for. Oh, God, yeah, so that's going to be it for now. So, yeah, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.